I have a question that I wanted answered, and I wanted to learn from one of the guys who I have so much respect for, his knowledge of the political landscape. A senior fellow with the Campaign for America's Future, host of the Zero Hour radio show, the website ourfuture.org, and a guy who I believe he used to work on Wall Street as well. R.J. Eskow, you with?
Hey, how are you, Tom?
Just great. So I keep hearing Republicans ranting about the Import-Export Bank, and perhaps more to the point, yesterday we had 12 Democrats who voted for fast-track authority, and according to some news reports, at least some of those Democrats did so because Mitch McConnell promised them that he would bring up reauthorization of the Export-Import Bank, and apparently that was a big deal to, for example, Patty Murray of Washington State.
Absolutely.
And that was the sweetener that was used to get her and apparently others to vote for this. So what the heck is the Export-Import Bank, and why are the Tea Partiers opposed to it? Why are Democrats supporting it? I mean, I read the history of it. I've read actually quite a bit about it here in the last couple of days, and it. Anyhow, go for it. Tell us about it.
Well, first of all, the Export-Import Bank has been around for more than 75 years. It was created during FDR's first term. It underwrites. It does not compete, as Republicans like to claim. It doesn't compete with private sector banks. It underwrites loans so that American businesses can sell their products overseas. And so it is basically a way of generating American jobs through American businesses, large and small. A lot of the people who benefit from Exim Bank activities are small businesses. So it's basically a way of creating American jobs by encouraging export. That's its primary mission. It does other things too, but that's what it does.
Now, I understand that there are over 60 similar banks around the world that are mostly funded by governments. And that if we did away with the Export-Import Bank, we would be basically surrendering a strategic advantage. That's one argument that I hear for it. On the other hand, the argument that I hear against it is that while a consequential percentage, between a quarter and a third of their loans are to small businesses, which I'm all in favor of, who exclusively or explicitly want to export. Boeing seems to be, the largest recipient of low interest loans from the Export-Import Bank, and that's so that they can ship airplanes overseas. Again, more American jobs.
Right.
But do we really want to be subsidizing Boeing?
Well, see, that's where this gets complicated, because you can certainly make an argument that we don't want to. On the other hand, then it will go to Airbus, French-made, or some other aircraft manufacturer. That some of these contracts will go instead to other manufacturers who do get the kinds of support that the Export-Import Bank provides here in the United States. And Tom, that's where the politics of this gets really interesting, because you look at Boeing, for example. They obviously love the Export-Import Bank. It gives them a chance to continue to manufacture and sell airplanes. Patty Murray supports the Export-Import Bank because it's creating jobs in her state of Washington, a lot of jobs. That gets us to the question, why do the Republicans oppose the Export-Import Bank? One reason, Delta Airlines hates it because it allows Boeing to sell airplanes to its overseas competitors at competitive prices. And that means that those competitors don't have to charge as much for a ticket as they might otherwise. So Delta's out there trying to kill the Export-Import Bank. It's spending cash on K Street in Washington where the lobbyists are, and there's a money tree there for Republicans to go to if they want to kill this thing.
Would it also, the first thing that occurred to me, the first time, and it's been maybe 6 months, and I keep getting these conservatives on a debate on various topics on both my radio and TV show, more often on the TV show, and they'll just like out of the thin air pull out the Export-Import Bank and throw it at me, and I just I hadn't had a rebuttal up to now, but my original conspiracy theory was that they don't want a federally subsidized bank loaning money to, whether it's to Boeing or whether it's to a little company that wants to export tennis shoes made in Tennessee or something. they don't want that to happen because, hey, Citibank should make a profit off that. Jamie Dimon should be raking in some bucks. Is that true?
Yeah, I suspect there is some truth to that. And I think the short rebuttal when they say something like that is if you support policies that support shipping jobs overseas from this country, why don't you support a policy that brings some jobs back to this country? It seems to me very selective. So I think you're on the right track. I think the idea is they're promoting capital and financialization as opposed to a job-based economy. Right. Now, again, like you, I have some hesitation about giving money to Boeing, but if you're going to give a corporate giveaway to anyone, it might as well be to someone who hires people and puts them to work.
What about saying, okay, let's split the baby down the middle. We'll keep the Export-Import Bank, but any company that's got a net worth of over, say, $500 million or even $100 million is not eligible for those loans. Frankly, I think they should have done the same thing with the Small Business Administration a long time ago. I owned a business in Atlanta back in the 90s, and we looked into getting SBA loans, and we had 12 employees, and we did a couple $1 million a year in business. But our company was nowhere big enough to qualify for a Small Business Administration loan, which blew my mind. So
yeah, that's ridiculous. And when I was doing work in Eastern Europe, and they were opening those markets up to Western interests, and that was in the early '90s. Again, small businesses could compete for Ex-Im Bank loans, but it's hard to send somebody over there.
Right.
The real small business. So yeah, I think it's a good idea, but you know what? You just lost Patty Murray's vote.
Because Boeing is a big contributor, or Boeing's employees are voters, that sort of thing.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, that which gets us back to how the defense industry has managed to, in every single congressional district in the United States, have at least one factory where there's jobs at stake, so that we have this perpetual defense industry. Is there, in your mind, we're talking with Richard Eskow of ourfuture.org and host of the Zero Hour, senior fellow with the Campaign for America's Future. Is there? How would you? I think we've characterized, the Republican and Democratic position on this. Why is it a partisan position?
Well, that's the interesting part of this. The Republicans, I think, are a little bit split on it. I think you have Republicans who are pro-Ex-Im Bank and Republicans who are anti. I think it's a combination of the culture of today's Republican Party, where any kind of meme or trope can just get in their heads and they run with it, and they've decided it's crony capitalism.
Or it's basically, if government does it, they hate it.
Right, selectively, but
right.
Yes. Yeah. I think that's part of it. And then I think Delta's money being spread around. Freedom Partners, I think, is one of the groups that's getting Delta money. I'm not sure about that. But I think Delta's spreading some cash around, too, and I think that kind of helps.
Just Delta?
Well, Delta is the one that's surfaced in reports. I would imagine other airlines feel the same way, other American airlines.
Very, very interesting. This is a fascinating thing. And if there's 60 of these around the world, then, geez, I don't know what to do about this. So,
well, then you get the level playing field principle at work. Yeah.
Well, I think we need to go back to Alexander Hamilton's trade policies, frankly, but that's a whole nother rant. So, net, we're out of time here, Richard. Would you be in favor of reauthorizing it?
I'd have to say yes, reluctantly.
Okay, all right. Thank you very much, R.J. Eskow. Senior fellow with the Campaign for America's Future, host of the Zero Hour radio show, website ourfuture.org. Thank you. Great talking to you. And thanks for the education.